Okay, hello everyone and welcome to Sporting Sunday. Today we're going to be talking about women in leadership and women in sport. So today I have 4 female presidents from our AU here. Does everyone want to kind of go around and introduce themselves? So I would like your name, your year, your course and what team you're president for. Who wants to go first? Beth, I'm going to say you.
I knew you would. I'm going to forget the questions. Okay. Hi, I'm Beth Haynes. I am a third-year student doing psychology, and I'm the president of Dance Squad. Nice. There we go.
If anyone wants to just like jump in and just go for it.
I'll go next. Hi, my name's Kate Robinson. I am a 4th-year zoology student, and I'm president of Ladies Hockey.
Hi, I'm Lucy Tune. I'm a master's student studying international politics and I'm president of Netball League.
Hi, I'm Lucy Walsh. I'm 3rd year doing biomedical sciences and I'm president of Cross.
Brilliant. Right, I'm going to try and like keep to the same order so people can kind of jump in when they want. But obviously the open questions you can kind of speak whenever. But kind of want to go around and say how and when you got involved in your certain sport. That would be great. Obviously prior to university, because you're all obviously here now doing these sports. So what has your past been within your sport and how did you get into it? Beth?
So I basically danced since I was like 7. So I was always been dancing, the classic younger girl. Then I stopped doing it throughout school because I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it. And then I did it throughout my A levels. And then obviously you sort of like graduate from my old dance school and I was like, I'm never dancing again. Like, I'm not doing anything at university. Like, I bet it's going to be rubbish. Like, I bet it's not going to be very good. And then I basically got dragged to the sports fair by my flat. And I was like, fine, I'll just go for the free dominoes. And then I remember like walking past and there was Dance Squad on the side. I remember the HUSU banner that was there, and I was like, no, like, and I tried to walk away, and someone literally, I don't remember who it was, but they must have caught my eye and literally like, ran over to me and was like, hi, do you want to join dance? Do you want to join dance? And then since then, it's just been history. Like, I just went to the taste session. From the taste session, people were like, please come to the first social. I went to the first social, and then people were like, please get ready with me before we go, and then I just fell in love with it, and I fell in love with everyone, and now I dance every single day of the week. So that's my experience.
Okay, it's you.
I was like, you next. I started playing hockey when I was about 6 or 7, I think. My dad made me go to a hockey training session for a club. And I was a bit reluctant, but I was at that age when you like literally do every single sport and have like about 3 sports a day. Like, I don't know how I managed it. And then I played club until I was about 12, and then played for school and club, and did netball as well. And then gave up netball and just focused on hockey. And then when I was in year 11, I had a massive falling out with my coach and stopped playing completely for 2 years in sixth form, and like really like knocked my confidence with hockey. I hated it and stuff. And then I was similar to Beth, like I didn't really want to go to the sports fair and was like, oh, I'll go anyway. And met some girls from hockey and was literally like, yeah, like I like these girls, I'm going to go to the trials. And then now I literally play hockey like, well, pre-COVID, like 5 times a week, and safe to say it is my life at uni.
It's me next. Have you finished, Kate?
Yeah.
I didn't think this was going to be the hardest part of the interview.
We'll get there. I played netball in like secondary school from year 7 to year 10, like for the school team, and then like year 11 I just stopped. Like, I got busy and like social life friends and didn't play again until I came to uni. Like, I just didn't really even think about joining. None of my friends joined in my flat, but then I met someone in Asylum and they said, come join Netball League. So I thought, all right, because I'm easily swayed. So joined and I love it, and that's it really.
I've been playing since year 7. It was our like main school sport, so that was like the only option. So you kind of had to play lacrosse, but I loved it, and I played for Yorkshire and North England, And then so I came to university and I was like, oh, I'm just going straight for lacrosse and we're not even going to talk to anyone else. So it was kind of my decision was already made and I came to uni and I've loved it.
That's really interesting because obviously Beth, Kate and Lucy kind of had the same experience of playing the sport and then maybe not having the interest in it or falling out of love with it and then coming to uni and kind of rebirthing that love for, even though obviously the education side kind of takes over, you can still prioritize your sport. That's really interesting. And I've never heard of a school where lacrosse is the only sport that girls play. I literally had the choice of netball or dance. That's mad.
Lacrosse is very child. That's what.
Weird sport to play as your main school sport. We had to travel to like Scotland every Saturday just to like the closest team to play a game against. So it was a good sport. So it's fine.
So Beth, you kind of touched upon it, but I'm gonna pop the question in anyway. Of before, obviously, your president year or years, what kind of experience have you had with sport at Hull Uni? Like, obviously, has it been a positive one? Has it been kind of a rocky one? Like, what has been the overall experience?
Yeah. I feel like it's had its ups and downs, but I think everyone does have them. When I was a fresher, I never ever would have imagined that I would have been doing a president role right now. How it's brought me on in confidence is like unimaginable. Like I don't even understand how I'm doing it right now. But like as a fresher, everyone was so kind to me. I didn't even know what a social was. I remember coming like, oh, and it was so nice that there was nothing scary about it at all. Then I got involved in comps, so we compete every year as HUDs to different universities and dance all our best dances and all of that. And then winning was just the best feeling ever. And I'd never competed before, and they pushed me to do it. Like everyone in HUDs pushed me the right amount to just keep bettering myself every single year. And then they were like, I really think you should try for exec, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I'd never even competed, and then I ran for comp officer, and then I did comp officer last year, which was amazing. I literally loved it. And then we won best overall at Leeds, which is the best that we've ever done, which is sick. I think the trophy is somewhere behind me. And then again, I just feel so safe in HUDs, which is crazy because again, I said to my dance teacher before, I was like, I'm never dance again, like just so you know. And now every time on Facebook, like pre-COVID, I'll be like, year one, like all these dance photos, and she's so happy that I'm carried on. It's just so nice, like all general sport as well. So like I remember going to the league versus squad game. We had as HUDs ball event, varsity, one of the best days of the entire year. Sport as general is amazing at Hull University, I'm not gonna lie. There we go.
What was the question again, Shauna?
So like prior to your president years, what has kind of been your overall experience in sport at Hull?
I was very like hands-on as soon as I arrived. Like literally, had my first training session like in freshers, and then after that was training twice a week. And literally like 2 weeks into the semester, the Saturday league that we play in started. So it was literally like, whoa, you are playing hockey again. And then we play books on a Wednesday as well, which is literally my favourite day ever, especially away games when we get a big bus, pre-COVID, a big bus together, and then we like come back and then have a social and go out. Like literally, it's my favourite thing ever. I'm in my absolute element on a Wednesday. And yeah, we intramural, what a day that is. And then I literally love varsity as well. That's probably my favourite day of the year at uni. Like,
do you want to quickly explain what intramural is for people that don't know?
Yeah, so intramural is like a day on the AstroTurf when literally loads of clubs get involved. Everyone like comes up with a team name and a theme for the team. So it's like fancy dress, and we play like a massive tournament and literally play all day. And fingers crossed it's a nice sunny day and you like get to know people from other clubs and stuff, and it's so much fun. Although 2 years ago now, yeah, it rained all day and was freezing, but and it's so annoying because it got cancelled because of COVID last year, and it was literally like perfect blue skies and sun, and I was so upset. But fingers crossed, maybe this year. But yeah, it's safe to say that sport is where I've made all my friends and stuff, and it's been very positive at Hull.
I agree with what Beth Kate said. Like coming into uni and like making friends in my flat was nice, but then meeting so many more people through sport, like it's just because we're a smaller uni, like I think you get to know more people. That's what I found anyway. So like everyone in the AU just seems to know each other, and that's definitely joining a sports team. Like you just get those connections, and it's like a little family, which is very cliche, but it is. And I just really enjoyed it. It keeps me so busy on the evenings. Like I think I would be so bored without having sport in my life, and I'm very grateful that I came to Hull, because I think other universities wouldn't have given me these opportunities. Like if you're not like one of the best players like myself, some universities don't have the opportunity. So I'm glad that I'm an average player at not an average university, but the best university ever. They give me opportunities still. Sorry, Sean is great, Hull's great.
Ow! I'm gonna keep that in.
Yeah, I'm similar to the last three in the fact that like I honestly don't know what I'd do without sport. Like I think I'd be such a boring person as well, because I'd have nothing to do. And even in my first year, I was quite a confident fresher, but I lived at the Lawn, so I was the last year of the Lawns, and there was only 2 people on my floor, so I was so desperate to make friends, like so desperate. And it was so nice, like coming into a club where everyone was so like nice and welcoming and wanted to get involved as much as possible. So even if it wasn't like doing training, everyone was like at the library together or anything. So it's been really nice. And varsity was so good in first year, but I'm still waiting for that home varsity I haven't had yet. So hopefully.
I feel like everything we're saying is like, this is hopefully going to come back and we will hopefully do this again. I think it's quite interesting to obviously have such a obviously what Lucy was saying about having it's a small uni, but you can still have such a positive experience with sport, and I think it's so true about the fact that just because you're not at necessarily a sporting university, you can't have a good experience of it. And I think you make such a good point of you could go to a bigger uni and then have a really bad time with sport. Like I know my friend back at home, we played netball all the way through school and college, and then she went to one of the bigger sporting universities, and because she wasn't the best player or the most kind of outgoing player, they kind of just pushed her to a side and like forgot about her, and then she stopped playing, which is such a shame. But I think we've got a really good ability to retain the people and engage the people, even if they're not those like elite level athletes. So I think everyone seems to have a really positive outlook on sport at Hull, even though we're not up there with Loughboroughs and the Hallam's and etc. So kind of going into more of a presidential outlook, what kind of were the things and experiences that you had that made you be like, yes, I want to run for president? Or was it a certain person that came up to you and kind of put you forward for it? Or what was that experience like? Beth?
I feel like we're gonna have to change around these question things soon. Okay, when I was a fresher, obviously my president was Irish. Can't say Irish, it makes me feel weird. And she was like God. Like literally everyone looked up to her. She was known by every single person. She did every single style of dance. She did comps. She did everything. And we all just looked up to her like, wow. And she absolutely smashed socials as well. Like came as Voldemort. Like she didn't do things in halves. So, and then one year she was like, yeah, I can see that fresher as a president. And I was like literally like me. And I was like, oh my God. And then as I was comp officer, it's sort of like being a mini president to your comp team. So I sort of got a feel for what it would be like. and yeah, it was stressful, but I thrive off making other people feel happy and like welcomed, because as a fresher, that's all I was ever made to feel, like welcome and happy and secure. Again, like saying I'm not the best dancer. I don't do all advanced classes. I do some open classes as well. It's for everyone. So I was like, I want to go for president to show people that they don't have to be the best dancer to be president. They can be good at some things and not so good at other things. It doesn't mean that you can't be like top dog, if that makes sense. But yeah, since it was when I was comp officer, and I was like, yeah, like this team has given me so much. I just want to be able to like give back, and the freshers that we've got now, I really hope that they're like, this is amazing. Like, I really love it. I would love to like go for exec, or like I just want to stay here forever, because I do.
Can't relate. Kate?
I was on committee in my second year. I was first team vice captain, and I really enjoyed being on committee because we used to have like committee bonding and like go bowling, and we went like climbing one time and stuff. And like I really just enjoyed being part of the like committee on the club, like helping with decisions and stuff. And Louisa, my best friend, was pres that year, and like she literally was such a good pres. Like I was just like, wow, she's like run this club so well. And we had like a really bad intake that year and had to get rid of the third team, and it like she was really stressed about it, but like handled it so well and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I can really see myself like doing that. So then I went for it, and then enjoyed it so much that I did it again. But it's been a very different year this year. But I'm very grateful that I had a year doing it when things were normal-ish until March. But yeah, it was again like seeing someone who smashed it as pres, which like motivated me to do it, and just like to be able to develop the club and like just like give something. Oh my god, this is so cringy. Give something. As in like, I'm very grateful because it's the reason why I've enjoyed Hull Uni so much. So I wanted to like give something back to a good club. That's it. That's my cringe.
The end was just really fast.
I hate to be like the third person to say it, but it's literally like the same like kind of story of Beth and Kate. Like my first year pres was Rosie, and she was my master on tour. So like we were just like quite good friends like towards the end of the year. And then I was on committee in my second and third year, and I just was here for fourth year because I chose to do a master's, obviously. So I just thought I'd go for it, and I'm really glad I did. Like I just can't imagine stepping down like after having a role in the club. Like I can't imagine like stepping back and just letting someone else do all these crazy things without me. Like I'd feel really left out if I didn't have a foot in my door. Do you know what I mean? So that's why, really.
Yeah, I'm the same. I had a really good pres in first year and the second year also. And when I came to Hull Uni, me and another girl were the only ones to have played lacrosse before committee university. So it was 2 of us that have played, and then 48 members that have never picked up a stick before. So like from first year, we were kind of, because we don't have any coaches, we were kind of expected to help coach people. So like from like an early stage, like I've had like a bit of an impact from the beginning. And then I got vice captain last year, and I just love organising. I had such a great time. So I was like, well, I didn't want to give it I want to go for something again. So I went for pres and worked well. But yeah, no, I really like it.
It's really nice to hear that you've all kind of had that really positive role model going into your first year to make that experience just amazing, and having it to be a female person in a position of leadership, which makes you want to be in that position of leadership, I think is just amazing. So kind of going on a positive route, what has been like the most rewarding aspect of your quite challenging presidential year? Obviously Kate going into the second one, but you've obviously had half a normal year and then a lot of not normal. So what has been the kind of most rewarding part? I'm going to mix up the people first. So Kate, if you want to go first, because I feel like you've got a quite interesting dynamic, seeing as you've been in it twice.
Yeah. The most rewarding thing was probably old girls last year. We all had like a big sit down meal at the Hilton in the centre, and it was so nice. And then I literally like had to do a speech because Prez does a speech every year, and I was like really nervous for it. And because like you get a bit slated if it's a bad speech and stuff. And I literally like stood up and was just like reflecting on everything we'd achieved as a club. So like we got promotion last year in books, but at this point we didn't know we got promotion, but we were like really close. And I was literally just like listing off the things that we'd achieved throughout the year, and we'd got a massive intake and like just going through it. And it was just like a really nice moment because like everyone was just like clapping and like cheering, and it was just like I was just sat there like, oh, like it was just really nice. Shall I do one for this year? This year we have had to get a third team again because we've had so many new members, which is like amazing because obviously 2 years ago we had like 25 members and this year we've got 50 members. So that was although it was quite stressful for me, it was a very nice moment for the club because it means that we are growing as a club again.
Who wants to go next?
I don't mind going next.
I'm just gonna let you guys just like order.
I think the best experience I've had is that, like, as I said, like we had 48 members that have never picked up the stick before, and we seem to attract a lot of girls who have stopped playing sport throughout high school or secondary school, and then it's just them deciding, you know what, like I'll have another go. And I think that's what we try and market ourselves at Freshers Fair is, don't worry, like it's completely new, like everyone's on the same level, everyone can be like as bad as each other, like it's fine if you drop it. And it's so nice, like people sticking on with it and carrying on and saying like how thankful they are that they're getting back into sport, and it's like a new thing for them, so that's really nice, and that so many people are getting involved with it.
I think like girls, so far for me, like girls that we've already taken in this year have like messaged people saying, I think I'm going to go for like something on committee next year, like I'm really having a good time. And it's really early doors for people to be saying that, and especially with like what limited activities we've been able to do, like it's really nice that some girls are still seeing like how good the experience should be and how good it could be, and like they want to be part of making that happen next year and stuff. So that's been really rewarding, I think, for me so far, for like girls to say, oh, I want to do this next year, because we can't do it this year. So.
I don't know. I feel like just from the start, probably Freshers Fair was a massive highlight because we thought, obviously with COVID, we were like, not many people are really going to want to like join in. Basically, I feel like a lot of people would have just lived in Hull and then they're like, I'll stay at home, I'll just study, and then I'll probably try it next year or whatever. But the amount of people that were at Freshers Fair actually blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, like people are still here, people are still wanting to try. And this year we've actually got boys as well as girls, which we only had one boy last year, but now we've got two, which is big for us because we lost all our boys like 4 years ago. And then people think that we're a women's team and we're actually mixed. So to get the name out there is really good for us. And the demographic of people that have joined this year is more like open dancers, which is amazing because it shows that more people are not feeling pressure that they have to be the best to join, and they've stuck it out and they do loads. They don't just do one class, they do like 4 or 5, as many as I let them basically, and they're all sticking and they're all saying they love it. So, and we've been having online classes as well, so we actually haven't stopped dancing since September basically. So every single person's been showing up to Zoom classes and Q&As and sending videos to their teachers, and the commitment that I've seen from a lot of people is pretty impressive.
I think that's the same for like the whole of the AU, just the kind of commitment and resilience and adaptability that everyone's kind of shown in the situation that we find ourselves in is like insane. Like I would have never have guessed. We could have literally, everyone could have just stepped back and been like, you know what, we can't do anything, so why should we even bother? But obviously you three, apart from Beth, have got could go outside, so you've got a bit more leniency with like social distancing rules and things, but you still have things that you need to implement within your sport that you've never had to before. And then obviously, Beth, with the restrictions of rule of 6 and indoor spaces, and then obviously the second lockdown, everyone's just been kind of stepped up to the mark, which I find absolutely amazing. Obviously, coming from a president of sports who's kind of overlooking everyone, just being able to say, actually, everyone's just absolutely blown out the water despite this horrible situation that we find ourselves in. It's just a really, like, I'm just so proud of everybody. So obviously, talking about the weird situation that we find ourselves in, what has been like the most challenging, negative, most biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome within your presidency so far? Who wants to go first? Has anyone got one that just springs to mind? Go on.
So far for me, it's obviously been really hard for everyone, because when we did AGM in March or April, we obviously knew COVID was around, we were in lockdown, but we were all like, oh, by September, October, it'll be gone. Obviously, the UK will get rid of it. We're a good country, but obviously we're not anywhere out of it yet. So I think a lot of members of committee like didn't think they were going to be like still in this situation now, and I think asking them to do maybe a little bit extra or something different has been quite hard, because it's like not what they signed up for. Like, it's not what the job description is like written down, but obviously we've got to adapt, and asking them all to do like different things and thinking outside the box and like having original ideas, because we can't do what we've done every year before, has been quite tough, I think. And it's rewarding now to see them like come up with these ideas and put them in place, but the actual thinking and getting the cogs turning differently was a bit hard at first, and we've all come together as a team though, so it's all good, but it was hard at first, I think.
Yeah, similar to Lucy, like especially I do feel bad for like social sex, because social sex are meant to be like fun, getting everyone like chanting and like having a good time after you've won your match or if you've lost a match, but it's hard to get everyone together on a Zoom call. Like it can be done, but it's not exactly the same like what you're doing every Wednesday night in Toffs or Asylum. It's just something very different, and also it's hard to check it. Normally you've been social and you can talk to everyone, all your members, but it's quite hard to do that, like have like a private talk over Zoom, or like just like, oh, like, are you okay, like how's things going? So I think that's the only challenge, but everyone's like making effort, so it's really nice to see that.
Yeah, I'll go. I agree with both Lucy and Lucy, because at the start, like, no one did expect us to be in September having slots booked in for Freshers' Fair. Like, no one thought that was going to be a thing. We all thought we were going to be like running around campus like, oh, join this, join that, like being able to hand out leaflets, and it was just so alien. And I do feel bad on my exec, because it's just not what they signed up for, like, especially social sex. Like, I'm so grateful for everyone on my exec, because they're just so willing to help with everything, because there's no handover document that will be able to tell them what to do this year, and probably for the next year as well. But their new ideas and their ability to adapt has really like humbled me, because it's also very daunting as a president. Like, as it was coming to September, I was thinking, yeah, things are still not the same, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I was like, oh no. But everyone's just backed me up and agreed with everything that I did, because, and the other thing that I found really hard was having to tell people no. Like, it was so horrible, because I just wanted to be like, yes, do everything, come to socials, do this, and then it's like, yeah, come to a Zoom call, but you can't like sit with us, you can't, it's just weird. But when people had to do their classes, usually we let everyone do whatever they want, and I had to put a limit of five classes on, and people had to submit like a form of the classes they wanted to do, so not everyone got to do everything. So I found that really hard. But then the amount of people that did apply for all these classes, like, it was like humbling and sad at the same time. So it showed how many members we got, and then the amount of dances and classes that people could do, but I was just really sad that they couldn't do it. But everyone stayed, So they clearly liked it. So
I think what I found the most challenging is like just the unknown of everything, like having no clue when when this lockdown does lift, like when sport is going to be back to normal. So people will be like asking me like, do you think we'll be able to do like intra? And I'll literally just be there like, I have no idea. And just like having no idea of like the time scale of things. And obviously it's the same to everyone. And I'm very grateful that we had a few matches, like we had like 5 matches. And that's like a lot more than other sports have managed to get in. So that's good. But it's just like finding the motivation to be like, keep going. And like, obviously, as the other girl said, Zoom socials are just, they're fun. It's nice to see everyone, but they're just not the same when, especially like we've all been through a lot of good socials. It's just hard to keep doing that, but fingers crossed. The end is near.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it, of what you were kind of saying, Beth, is saying no to people so many times that you like don't even recognize the word no anymore. It's like, how many times can I let people down before people just start giving up? So I think the fact that no one's given up quite yet is a real like credit to everyone in the AU so far. But it's kind of what you said, Lucy, about it's not being the same and we're having to adapt, but maybe that's good for the future of those little adaptations we can kind of take forward into the future of being like, oh, if this worked when we were in lockdown, surely it can work now. For example, how successful Movember's been about getting the clubs together and working together as an AU to create this really nice community where we all work together. That might not have happened if the lockdown 2.0 would happen. So it's kind of pushing the negative parts to the side, because if you do let it kind of overcome your life, it will become your life. And I think all of us can kind of relate to the fact that if we do just overthink the negative things, we start not seeing the positives. So I think it's a really good point to like reflect on for future years. So saying that, little segue, what would like one piece of advice or little nugget of knowledge that you've kind of created, what would you pass on?
I'll go. Expect the unexpected. Every single time, if you ever plan something, it's never going to go to plan. So always write a plan, but just know it's never going to happen. You've always got to have a plan B as president. That's one thing that I learned very, very fast. Have a plan B, or just always know as much about the thing that you're doing. So if there's any holes, you can plug it straight up and be like, no, I've got another idea. We can do this instead. Ask exec, no, we can do this instead. Because it's relying on that small group of a committee, so that anything that does change, you can quickly adapt and be like, no, that's fine, sort it out in 2 seconds.
Mine would be to not always expect people to like thank you for the work you put in. Because I find like the biggest challenge of Pres was like you put so much work in, and sometimes if you like let it get to you, you can feel like no one's appreciating how much of your own time you're putting in. Oh my god, excuse me, I don't know what's happening to my voice. But like people do really appreciate what you do for the club, and like even though it's not acknowledged all the time, people do appreciate you. So just don't feel like you're not appreciated.
I think mine is, it's going to be a lot harder than you think. You'll love every second of it, but it's going to be really hard. I think, you just need to use your committee and like use them as much as you can, because if you try and do everything by yourself, like it's just, like Kate said, it's just a bit overwhelming. You can feel like no one else appreciates what you're doing. So use your committee and be prepared to feel sometimes that what you're doing is not right, but it probably is. But I know so many times I've thought I've just done something so wrong or so stupid, and it's been the right decision, but at the time it just feels like so wrong and just wrong. But it's not.
I think mine would be is just like take every opportunity you can, even if it's like like not what you necessarily would do, because like as a club we never fundraised any money. We were really bad for that, and like this whole COVID thing is it's great to go out for a run and raise some money. So that's the best thing we've done, and we've even got involved in like women empowerment programs, just because like you can't do sport but you can still do something as a club, so it's nice to do things like that.
Yeah, and I think I don't know what it is, but everyone feels more engaged with stuff outside of their club. Maybe it's because the priority is not necessarily on sport this year as a normal year, because obviously we've got other things to be dealing with, but everyone seemed to get involved in Show Racism the Red Card and breast cancer awareness and things like that. So I feel like those are the things that we can take forward that aren't necessarily sport based, but it's awareness and, as you say, Lucy, like charity and kind of working with other teams outside of your normal realm, because it's what you're used to and what previous years have seen. But I think we can definitely take positives out of this year, and definitely with people like you in leadership, that kind of change is happening, and I think that's really positive. So we're going to change topics a bit now to kind of go on to women in sport more specifically. Obviously, Beth, I know that you've got a mixed team, but the majority of that is women, and for example, dance is seen as more of a feminine female sport stereotypically. So we're just going to kind of have those discussions about women in sport. So the first question that I want to kind of pose to you all is, at the moment, obviously, women have come on leaps and bounds in the sporting world, but what barriers are still there for women? What are the biggest barriers, and why do you think it's taking so long for us to break these barriers down?
Okay, I'll go. I feel like I look at everyone, but read the room. I feel like not regarding dance, because I don't know, I feel like dance is quite equal-ish at uni anyway, but for sports that have a female equivalent, so for like women's lacrosse or like women's rugby, the men's team are always emphasized a bit more than the women's. Like I always knew that there was a men's lacrosse, but I didn't always know that there was a women's lacrosse, if that makes sense. So I feel like sometimes, I don't know where that comes from either, but maybe the media, but I didn't know that there's always the women's alternative until I actually came to Hull Uni and then went round the Freshers' Fair and be like, oh, there's women's this, there's women's that, and ladies football often gets sort of not disregarded, but it's not as important as men's football. And I don't know how to change that other than rising up and spreading awareness.
I think. Oh, sorry.
No, I said I'm done.
I think the like hockey as a sport there's not as big a divide. Like I think women's hockey gets a lot of like media attention and stuff, and it's like quite a big international sport. But I think it's for other sports like women's rugby and like women's football, where like the male version of those sports is like so big. Like the football industry is huge, and it's like they don't get the same funding. Like they don't get, when matches could happen, the crowds are like nothing in comparison to male sport and stuff. But that's from like years and years of just like history of the male sport. But I just think like the only way to, I think changes are happening at the moment, like they're televising a lot more of the matches and stuff, like when things were normal. So I think just like carrying on doing that, and like eventually hopefully one day it'll be a lot more like equal, really. But it's just like it's difficult with funding and things, because the male sport gets that funding because it gets that much media and sponsorship and things like that. So it's like a really difficult like cycle to break, but I think it is going in the right direction with like awareness and stuff. And I think people are like starting to like stand up to people. Like, I don't know if you saw Hebe from women's rugby on Twitter. Some man was tweeting some not nice things about women's rugby, and she was like standing up, and they were posting on their social media. And I just think like doing things like that is just like positive, because it's just like showing people that women are just as capable as men, if not better in some cases, at sport, and just like standing up to people and raising awareness, really.
I'm gonna like bounce on Beth's point. I don't know if it's just me, but I've noticed a lot of like the men's teams don't specify men's, whereas all the women's teams like tend to have to specify like women's. I think men's hockey do. I think they have on the back of their jumpers like HUMHC or something, but like men's football just have like, oh, HUFC. So like ladies football has to be the one that says, oh, we're the ladies team. And I think that's necessarily equality, but I think it's something that could be changed. And it's just sort of that attitude of like, oh, you just assume it's a men's football team, so it doesn't need to specify. But you know, there's both, so both should have to specify, in my opinion. And I think that's something that could be changed very easily, just to start getting attitudes like changing.
Yeah, well, for lacrosse is a bit of a weird one in the sense that in England or like the United Kingdom, women's lacrosse gets a lot more funding and attention because it's played in schools, whereas men's lacrosse is not played in any school in the UK. So like it's a bit of a weird one in that sense. But like when coming to university, is like there is just a lot more attention. I don't know whether it's like the stigma of like girls don't play sport is still there, but like it's just like if you're a guy, yeah, I'll join a sports team, where the girls are kind of a bit more reserved if they haven't played sport at uni beforehand. So I don't know whether it's that, but I think we're getting there. I just think you just have to speak about it more and encourage girls to try something new. And yeah, you can be 20 and pick up a new sport. You don't have to be like 10 or played it all the whole of your life.
Do you think at like this age, we still have a lot of stereotypes surrounding women in sport? Like, what kind of stereotypes have you kind of seen in a university setting or over your general experience of sport? Are those stereotypes still there, and what are those stereotypes?
I think sorry. I think like some girls have said they're a bit scared to join like a bigger club of all girls, just because they're like, oh, it's going to be so, am I allowed to swear? Really bitchy or like really catty. And I think them already having that like conception in their head before they've even met any of us and thinking, oh, it's just going to be like one big bitch fest is just so backwards. And I think if you've already got that in your head, then you're probably part of the problem, which is quite harsh to say, but if you're already going to assume that we're all girls, so we're all like fighting each other all the time and like spreading gossip about each other, then that's where it starts. And I think it's just wrong. You don't hear that about boys' teams, so why would you assume that about girls?
Yeah, I agree. That was basically what I was going to say, because dance is so predominantly women, and everyone knows that dance can be so bitchy. It's got such a stereotype on it, even from when you were younger, that you just have this connotation with dance that it's very competitive, bitchy. People get their mums involved. Like, we've literally got dance mums at the programme, for God's sake. Like, it's what it's like, but it's not here at HUSU anyway. And I know that as banter, as we like to call it, like other lads teams will be like, yeah, like you dance, like you don't do anything else, it's not a sport, blah blah blah, like dance isn't a sport, and you don't do anything, you prance around. And it's like, actually I feel like often the men's teams that find it a joke where it's actually not, and it's something that we've had to combat for so many years, because I've just turned around and been like, it's actually quite an immature thing to say. Like, why would you say that? Because you know it's not true. So don't try and elongate the stereotype of that women can't do something that potentially men are a bit apprehensive to do. Obviously dance is a bit more out there for a male to do. Yeah, they can probably cut some shapes on a silent floor, but if they actually went into a studio and tried to do something, it's actually a lot harder than people think. So I'd probably just say that stop using the word banter as an excuse to try and oppress us, because it's not funny.
Yeah, for lacrosse, like women's lacrosse and men's lacrosse are two different sports, and the fact that women's is non-contact and men's is contact. But there is also mixed lacrosse, which is like both genders can take part in. but it is women's rules, and women's rules are slowly getting more contact. Like we can hit each other's sticks. Like it is aggressive. Like you have to be. You can shout in people's faces. That's like a defense technique. And I think some men think like, oh, it's non-contact. Like I can just go on a pitch and play women's lacrosse. When like there's actually rules. Like it is actually like a sport. And I think they just think like, oh, like it's fine. Like it's so easy. And then they've tried it and they're like, oh wait, no, it's actually hard to catch. It's actually hard to do this. And you're like, yeah, I'm not just be making it up. So it's a difficult one sometimes.
Yeah, I think people don't realise how hard hockey is as a game until intramural. At intramural, everyone's like, how do you do this? And like people think, oh, like men's hockey, like they can hit it really hard, and then they'll come watch one of our matches and be like, Jesus, so can they? And like we obviously all have to wear gum shields, and then like in the short corners we've got to wear face masks and stuff. And I think they just think because we're female, like not everyone, obviously, I'm just generalizing. They think because we're female, like it's not as dangerous, but like it really is. And just like I think just changing people's attitudes to just presuming that women aren't as good at the sport is just like where the issue lies, really. But I'd say like overall, like we have mixed games with the men and stuff, and like we do have like very similar abilities, and obviously there's like different like biological things, so, like the men are naturally faster than us, but like overall we're very similar like teams. And I do think that sometimes people kind of overlook the women's team just because we're female, but I'd say overall that the attitudes are changing, so I think we are getting there.
I think it's important to like what we were saying about awareness raising and stopping that comparison of being like, oh, but men's lacrosse is contact, so it's better than women's lacrosse, when it's like you've got two different sets of rules, so it's two different like skill sets almost. And then, as you said, Beth, like what is it? What are you gaining by putting a sport down or a woman down for taking part in an activity? So it's like combating those negative connotations around women in sport and tackling the comparison and the putting women down because they're playing a sport that's stereotypically male. But surely that's even like more impressive if you're saying that rugby is a man's sport. Women are playing it, and women are playing it to a standard where you're doing exactly the same thing. So why is it less than when you're physically asserting yourself in the same way? It's really baffling to me. So Lucy, you kind of touched upon it with what we call our sports teams and the titles that we have. And I think you made a really good point of saying, why should ladies football be called ladies football and men's football just be called football? So I think that's definitely something that we can take forward and look at. But what other things have you noticed about sport at the University of Hull? Do you think that the representation and opportunities for women are equal to that of men? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse? What can be improved in that situation?
To be honest, I think women at Hull generally are more involved in sport than the men are. So I think from that perspective, like we're actually quite fortunate. I think a lot more women are involved in sport than men. Like, correct me, Sian, if that's wrong, because obviously you've probably got the statistics. But I know a lot more. Obviously, I'm a girl, but I know
agree.
Girls that are involved and like heavily involved with their clubs, whereas boys, you know, they'll maybe play a bit of football, but they aren't like, you know, doing everything for the club. But girls just seem to become a bit obsessed actually with their clubs compared to boys. And I think we've got similar opportunities as in like levels that we can play for, because I think, you know, men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse, I've seen both their games. I've seen a men's hockey and a women's hockey game. I think the presidents of sports before you have had like the games of the week, and they've made sure it's equal like men and women. So it's very much in that respect seems to be equal awareness around the university of these teams. So, and obviously we've got a women's rep in sport, which is great.
I agree with Lucy. I think Hull does a really good job of representing both genders equally. I do think, well, like maybe if anything, females get more attention in their sports. But like, yeah, I do think they do a really good job of it. And then obviously the women's sports rep, like Lucy said, I'm just repeating everything. That's really good as well. And like, I think they use social media very effectively as well. Even like posting like results of matches and like cup games and stuff. It all seems very equal with men and women.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, it's the same for like social. If you want to be applauded for something and shared by the university as a club, it's your responsibility to like tag HUSU sport, like, and you'll share it. So like, it is a club's responsibility as well. But like, it's pretty equal. Like, I don't think there's any massive differences. And like, the netball's so huge at a whole. The fact there's 2 clubs and they're still like massive is ridiculous. Like, you just don't have that in men's team in comparison, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I was literally going to say about the social media that Kate said it as well. But yeah, so when the union share the teams on Facebook, and it's like team of the week, or if someone's done something, like Lucy said, you do have to tag HUSU sport in it, or just email the union, because they give you the email when they do their social media posts. It's like, if you've got anything that you want us to shout about, please do email. And like, we've done that in the past, and you 100% like take us seriously and share everything. And as well, like with the Trophy Prez Awards, like there's men, mixed and women team awards, so I feel like it's quite equal with appreciating everyone as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm not sure how other unions run it, but the fact that we do have a women's rep in the sport is really, I don't know if it's unique, but I feel like it's quite a unique thing to have, just an individual kind of overlooking just the women. And I think it's a credit to us as well of not just having females in the position of female teams, like the president of female teams, but also you have a wide variety of mixed teams being led by a female as well. So like, obviously Beth with dance squad, that is a mixed team. Like powerlifting and weightlifting has a female president, trampolining has a female president, like that kind of thing. Of I agree with you, Lucy, about, I think the participation and engagement of women at Hull is outstanding, and I think we are higher than the men in that respect. Of women seem a lot more open to try new things and get involved in like the organisation and the committee side of mixed teams and things like that. So I think we're doing really well at the moment for kind of rallying up the troops, almost, of trying to get women's sport on the map and women on the map in general for individual sports as well. And I think it's just a credit to the AU at the moment for how they're like presenting themselves and carrying themselves. And as you said, Lucy, about kind of shouting about your own celebrations and tagging us in them, because we can only shout about them so much, but until you kind of help us do that, we only get to a certain point. But yeah, okay, that has hit the hour mark. I'm going to stop the discussions there, unless anyone has anything else to go in the any other business part of this recording. Anyone have any final words to close off? No. So I just want to say thank you all for coming. Hopefully we can do something a bit more sport based next semester when we're coming out of lockdown again, and obviously after Christmas. Hopefully the start of competitions and books can start again, going into that, and then looking forward to things like varsity and intramural and trophy prez, if those things are even possible. But I feel like if we are optimistic and we manifest it out loud, then it will happen.
Gonna happen.
Positive mental attitude. Right. I'm going to wait till Kate comes up so I can welcome everyone with everyone's faces. Just have your shoulder in for the first 2 seconds. To whoever's your predecessor. Is that the right word? Predecessor? I don't know. We're just going to roll with it.
That's confident.
Whoever takes over from you.
Yeah.
Oh, postecessor?
I think 'cause it's like pre.
I don't know. So